Obsidian Flames is, well, here. The day that this goes out is probably the release date, and probably the day that my order will show up in the mail, so I'll be recording openings that day, and I won't have anything to go out that day, except this video. So that's why it's going out when it's going out. No EA app, don't open, what the heck? Sorry. And so today is also the last day of the set review. Yeah, get out of here. So all we have left to go over are the trainer cards. So let's get into that now. Now, I forgot to mention it in my last video, but I mentioned all the other ones, and I'm going to mention it here. We use the website Justin Basil. It is a fantastic website. I really appreciate it. I think they've got the best card art to card translation format that I've seen, and I really like using the website. It's just a nice, clean website. It's not gunked up, and I love it. I think it is fantastic, so shout outs to them for sure. And then let's jump into the Obsidian Flames trainer cards. Now, I'm a little confused by this placeholder here. It says Arvin, and it's placeholder. Don't know why it's placeholder. From unknown origin. Search your deck for an item card and a Pokemon tool card. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Are we getting another printing of Arvin? Didn't we just get that? That was like Scarlet Violet. So not the last set, but the set before. So why are we getting a reprint of it? Maybe it's just here because there's a special art or something in it. I'm not 100% sure, but Arvin's a great card. You should play it. Search your deck for an item and tool. Pretty fantastic in my opinion. Next up, we have Brassius. That's my pronunciation, probably not right. Probably completely wrong about that. And it's a grass trainer, so kind of shame on me. And you shuffle your hand into your deck, then you draw until you have one more card in your hand, then you shuffled in. And I absolutely love this. Now, it plays into my Jank style very well, in the fact that sometimes your hand just gets cluttered, and this will let you shuffle it all back into your deck, then draw until you get the same hand size plus one. And I really like that. I really appreciate it, and I could see it finding a lot of ways into my decks. Maybe not everyone's, because a lot of people have a lot of throwaway cards, and even not all of my decks, but I could definitely see it showing up in a few, and I love it. I think it's a very good card. Because if you play a lot of cards, the card obviously gets worse. You don't want to play that many cards, so you can shuffle and draw back a bigger hand. But at the same time, you do want to play cards to, to remove them from your deck. So, it's just, I think it's very well designed. I think it's a fun card. And like I said, gonna see Jank play. Probably not serious play, but Jank play. Next up, we've got Gita. Gita, until the end of your, obviously a supporter, until the end of the turn you play this card, none of your Pokemon can attack. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards and attach them to one of your Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. So, poison decks are going to love this. Disruption decks, I think, are really going to like this. Anything that's okay taking turns, not attacking, is going to love this. And I can even see it seeing play in other decks because it's just useful. Sometimes you're not going to be able to attack. You haven't set up everything yet. And this is kind of a last-ditch effort of, I'm going to play Gita. I won't be able to attack because, honestly, right now, I couldn't anyways. And I'm going to search for up to 2 basic energies and attach them to one of my Pokemon. And then I'll be ready to go next turn. And it's a setup card. And I think it's pretty fun. Yeah, gonna see some play, especially with Lumineon still in the format. You can search this out pretty easily. At least as a one-of, I could see it seeing some play. Next up, we've got Letter of Encouragement. You can play this card only if any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So, it's like Professor what was it, Professor's Letter, I think, where you got to search your deck for 2 energy cards. This gets you 3, but the caveat is that you have to have a Pokemon knocked out during your opponent's last turn. I like it. I think it's really well done. Searching for 3 basic energy cards, you gotta have a deck that plays with that. But I can think of a few. Even like Chimpao could really use this. Not only can Chimpao search out for 2 energy, this gets you 3 more, and then you have 5 energy to play around with, and that 5 energy will translate to an attack of 300. So it's really good, and I think it's definitely going to see some play. We have another supporter here, Ortega, I think. Your opponent reveals their hand. Choose a card you find there, put it at the bottom of their deck, then your opponent may draw a card. So, a few things here. Then your opponent may draw a card. They do not have to. Your opponent reveals their hand, so you get hand knowledge, but you get to choose the card. I think that's very important. You get to choose the card and put it at the bottom of their deck. Can be very disruptive. It does only put it into their deck at the bottom. It doesn't discard it or lost zone it, so it's searchable still, which is probably the biggest issue with it. But you might be able to force search, or maybe it's a card that's very difficult to search for, or something along those lines. I do like it, and I do think it will be very disruptive, but, you know, there's some issues with that card. It's just not very powerful, in my opinion. I do like it, though, and a control-ish player could probably use it very well. Next up, we've got a tool, Patrol Cap. As long as the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot, cards in your deck can't be discarded by effects of your opponent's attacks, abilities, item cards, Pokemon tools, or supporter cards. So, if we were already, like, thinking Mill couldn't exist with this one copy of Bibriel that prevented Mill, Patrol Cap doesn't really help that argument. Mill just does not exist, really. And you could blame it on that Bibriel, you can blame it on Patrol Cap now. I don't know if it's really because of those that Mill doesn't exist. I just think the game isn't really built to let you mill currently. Like, the current meta just doesn't work for a mill deck. And Patrol Cap will be an easy tech for anything that is worried about mill. Yeah. Pour one out for mill. Next up, we have Pokemon League Headquarters. The attack cost... Oh, it's a stadium. The attack cost for each basic Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponent's, is 1 colorless more, which is pretty powerful. Increasing attack costs might prevent your opponent from being able to do the attack that they really want. It only works on basic Pokemon, like the ones that came in Paldea Evolved, the Wasteland and the Snowy Mountain ones. Calamitous, that's the word I was looking for. Calamitous Wasteland, Calamitous Snowy Mountain. It only works on basic Pokemon, and with EXs bringing more evolutions to the game, I don't know how useful it's going to be in the long run. Sad, but that's kind of my thoughts on it, and I feel like it's just coming a little too late. You know, if this was in the Sword and Shield era, it would probably see a lot of play. Now, maybe not so much. Next up, we have a supporter, Poppy. Move up to 2 energy from one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon. Being able to move energy is something that can be useful in the right situation. You need one final attack with a particular Pokemon, and you need to get energy on it, but you've already played your energies. Poppy will help you. How often are you in that situation? Is it going to be worth your supporter for the turn? And is it going to be worth the space in your deck, honestly? Is the tough part about this. It's your supporter, and how often are you in that situation? If you're not in that situation very often, maybe it's not worth it. It's why I play Gardenia in my Spidops deck, is because I find that to be more worth it. I can retreat my Spidops, which there goes my energy into my discard, energy retrieval, Gardenia, and I put it back on. But moving the energy from one Pokemon to another doesn't help me nearly enough, in my opinion. Sometimes my opponent will try to boss up one that doesn't have energy to buy turns. There it would help, but how often does that happen? So, yeah, I've just been playing Spide Ops a lot recently, so that's why it's on my mind. It's the one deck I have built physically. I never built a Paldea Evolved deck physically, sadly. Then we have Rhyme? I don't know. Draw 3 cards, another supporter. Switch out your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench. Your opponent chooses who goes into the active. So, it's half and half, right? Draw 3 is kind of a bland supporter-ish card. I think the bland supporter-ish card should be draw 4. I think draw 4 would be a lot more balanced within the meta, but draw 3 is just kind of bland. And then it's half of an escape rope. Your opponent just switches. You don't have, like, you don't even get the choice. You just don't. I'm not sure if that's worthwhile. It's a tough one. Your opponent getting to choose really hurts the card a lot. But if you got to choose, it'd be way too powerful. It'd be boss's orders, but then you draw 3 cards, right? I'm just not sure if this card is what people are looking for. Oh, I really want to switch my opponent, but I don't want to switch myself, and I want to draw cards. If only there was a supporter that could do that for me. I don't know how often that happens, right? So, yeah, I just don't love it. You know, people don't play escape rope and the generic draw 3 supporters, right? They just play escape rope and they have other supporters to do other things and draw way more cards. So yeah, not a fan, sadly. And then another placeholder one, Team Star Grunt. Are we getting a reprint or are we just getting an alternate art? Where is it coming from? What is it? Who are you? I don't know what other questions to ask. It's the same card that we've already seen before. Put an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon on top of their deck. I do like Team Star Grunt. It messes with your opponent in such a way that I really like it. Not only are you removing an energy from their Pokemon, you're then putting it on top of their deck, so that's what they're drawing next turn. They're not drawing that boss's orders. They're not drawing, you know, that switch that they desperately need. They're drawing the energy that they probably played last turn. And it just is enough of messing with your opponent that mixed with other effects, I think, can lead to a very interesting deck. So a stadium card, Town Store, once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for a Pokemon tool card, reveal it, put it into their hand, then shuffle. Then you shuffle your deck. I'm curious if this will if we see this being played, will that mean Arvin sees a decrease in play? Because one could argue that the Arvin searching out an item and a tool, either the tool is the bonus or the item's the bonus, depending on how you build your deck. And Town Store kind of fulfills the tool half. So if you're not needing Arvin to fulfill the tool half, do you play something else? I think that's a fair question. And this is a good stadium. Way better than the shopping mall one that we already have in format, where you just pick up the tool from another Pokemon. Like, I'm not that big of a fan of that. When you play down a tool, like with Town Store, you can go search for the right one, then commit, where the shopping mall is really putting this expectation that one turn you're going to want this tool, the next turn you're going to want a different tool, so you want to pick that one up and attach something else, and your Pokemon won't be knocked out between those 2 turns, you know? So yeah, I like Town Store, and I think that is a fantastic card. Very powerful, and I do think it'll see play in particular decks. And then next up, the final card, and I think it's the most interesting. It is a tool, Vengeful Punch. When the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, put 4 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. 4 damage counters is a very interesting number. 4 damage counters is how much Kingambit needed to instantly KO a Pokemon. So there's just like straight synergy with Vengeful Punch. And I think that is awesome to see. That's so cool to see. And that is really like, so that is a little bit of the designers going, we are building the deck for you. You need Vengeful Punch, and you need the Poniard to Kingabit line. You know, you need that. But there's still enough space there to kind of still make the deck your own and do something else. Vengeful Punch is kind of, in a way, freeing the deck from a more linear strategy and being like, you can have other Pokemon in the deck. Kingabit can be more of like a one-off or a two-off and just grab key KOs, and you can put Vengeful Punch on any Pokemon you want to set that up later, right? I like it, and I think it's a great card, and it's a bursting balloon, but it doesn't disappear at the end of your turn for no reason, or at the end of your opponent's turn for no reason. It stays, and it is constantly a threat to your opponent, and I like it. I think it is a fantastic card. Vengeful Punch is definitely one of the standout cards in the trainers. What else is a standout card to me? I'm going to say Ortega is a standout card. Letter of Encouragement, definitely. Maybe Gita, or maybe Barris, Brassius, maybe. I would say Gita more so. So Gita, Letter of Encouragement, Ortega, and Vengeful Punch. I think that's it. I think those are the standouts. Thank you so much for joining me for all these set review videos. I think it makes sense for people to be able to reference back this information. I don't know if people actually will, but I like doing it as more of a slow burn, because you watch other YouTube channels and they do the whole set in one video and it's like 2 hours long, and sometimes 3, and I'm just sitting there like, I don't have the time, and usually I'm watching YouTube on my TV anyways, so it's a lot harder to like skip ahead and find the exact moment you need, right? But yeah, I hope people enjoy these videos. Go ahead and let me know what you think are the top standout cards of the trainers in Obsidian Flames. What are you going to be playing in your decks, and is there something that I missed about them? Let me know down in the comments. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the Obsidian Flames content that is coming your way. And of course, join the Discord. That's right, I got one more. Join the Discord, where there's a bunch of cool people there, and you can be one of them. And of course, until next time, keep playing Jank.